Is it an addiction?
Is it an addiction? No, I don't think it's an addiction. I think it does put me, like, it makes me happy. But no, it's not an addiction.
So, for once in my life, let me get what I want. Lord knows.
You're gonna live with me now. Hmm? Yeah, I'm gonna take care of you. Because I love you.
Welcome to the fucking show.
Welcome back to Fantasy Football by Committee, powered by Flurry Sports. It can be tough to win a fantasy league on your own, but at FFBC, we will work together to bring home the hardware. Hosted by Zach Bruner and the rest of the Flurry Sports crew, we will give top-level analysis, answer your questions, and, well, go off on other tangents.
That was after I tried to get ChatGPT to admit that 9/11 was an inside job, but it stood firm. It gave quite a few solid points that it was true.
Welcome to Fantasy Football by Committee. The show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Hello. How's it going, everybody? Hope your Thanksgiving week was great. Hope you got some good Black Friday, Cyber Monday deals. And hopefully you got a win in fantasy football. Obviously, we still have tonight, Vikings, Bears. I don't know how many fantasy football players you have going tonight, but you certainly could come down to tonight. Hopefully you get it. We're talking about the waiver wire for week 13 here today, and it's going to be a tough week. A lot of things mixing together right now. Obviously, a lot of teams are in must-win mode. Some teams are getting desperate because we might only have 2 more weeks until the playoffs, I believe. Weeks 13, week 14 start playoffs, week 15 possibly. 15, 16, 17, or just 15, 16. So, yeah, a lot of teams are in must-win mode. We're coming down the stretch of the fantasy football season. A lot of leagues have a week 12 NFL or fantasy football trade deadline. So as you're watching this Monday morning, today might be your last day to make a trade. You know, the trade deadline is the end of the night tonight. So you may be having to make a trade today. If that is you, certainly ask your trade questions. You can drop them in the live chat. You can drop them in the comments under this video. You can go over to Fantasy Football by Committee on Facebook, our Facebook group, ask questions to myself, ask questions to the other hosts you see on the show, and everybody else in the community. You can go do that. But this is also a shitty week because we got 6 teams on bye. It is sort of a nightmare. It is a clusterfuck beyond imagine. So we have the Bears, the Bills, the Raiders, the Vikings, the Giants, and the Ravens all on bye. So we got some decent quarterbacks. We got Josh Allen, Justin Fields, possibly Josh Dobbs. You may be relying on him, and Lamar Jackson. So certainly some good quarterbacks off. Running backs, I mean, we got Saquon, Madison, Jacobs, Cook, and then I guess Edwards, Mitchell, and the Bears situation. Receivers, some very good receivers off. Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, DJ Moore, Devontae Adams, Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, if somehow he comes back today, even though I don't think he will, and Zay Flowers. Tight end wise, you're still dealing without Darren Waller. Hopefully he comes back for the fantasy playoffs. We shall see. Isaiah Likely, a lot of people just spent a pretty penny to pick him up for some reason, and he's off right away. TJ Hawkinson's out. Cole Kmet, Dalton Kincaid. So this could be a really shitty week. Yeet on Twitch says Adam Thielen is a fraud. He's getting the drop. I don't know if he's a fraud, but certainly disappointing the past month. We'll see if the firing of Frank Reich helps anything. Previously, when Frank Reich was calling plays, that was earlier in the year, That's when Adam Thielen was going crazy. He gave up play calling. He got worse. Frank Reich took it back the past couple of weeks. Didn't really do much. So not great. Not great. Luke, thoughts on George Pickens having 2 mouth guards in this week? I mean, that dude's a dog. Like he can do whatever the hell he wants. Nothing's scarier of somebody having 2 mouth guards, because you know what that means. They're coming to fucking hit you really hard. Like we see our Oklahoma drill video on our YouTube channel. I feel like that's what it is. He's coming to make that DB's life an absolute nightmare, as he has done his entire career. Not so much with, catching the ball, but everything pre-catch. He's kind of a nightmare. But yeah, Adam Thielen, I don't know. I don't mind you dropping him. I don't think I would drop him. I would give it another week. Who do the Panthers play this week? Panthers play the Bucks, so a good matchup. Yeah, I certainly wouldn't drop him. I don't know how many other options you have, but again, 6 teams are on bye this week, and you have Adam Thielen. I would not be dropping him. What's up with Cooper Kupp? Certainly not healthy. Certainly not healthy. I don't know, man. Again, you can't really start him right now. He's in prove it mode right now. He has to prove it to me before he goes back into my lineup. He is certainly not 100%. He's running pretty slow, and he's almost looking like he's almost being used as a decoy out there, which has worked. But this past week as well, 1, I don't think he's healthy. 2, I think he's kind of being used as a decoy because of the health. But 3, they didn't have to throw really this week. They just ran it with ease. And then when they didn't run it, they just ran play action, or do some kind of fake. And Higbee released instead of, blocked, and he caught 2 touchdowns. Rose from the dead to do that. Need 32 from Fields tonight, says Bills. What are my odds? I mean, they're low, but I think it's possible. It's the Vikings. The Vikings can certainly not show up for a half. Like, I could see it being a very big first half for Justin Fields. The question is just always, what does he do in the fourth quarter? And it's usually not been good. I don't think it's necessarily been his fault, but it hasn't been good. As long as... Yeah, I don't know. I think he has a good game. I would, if you had to ask me what I think he scores tonight, I think he scores like 24. So, mathematically your odds suck, but I think he has a good game. Luke being used as a decoy to allow Tyler Higbee to score touchdowns is a huge fall from grace. No shit. Who do the Rams got next week? The Rams play the Browns. Don't like that. Then the Ravens, don't like that. And then he's got Washington. He's got New Orleans. I think Marshawn Lattimore could come back for that game, if I'm correct. That, or it's his final game that he's out. Yeah. Certainly don't like him the next 2 weeks, though. Holy shit. Tough. 2 passing and a rushing from Fields tonight, says Luke. I do not mind that whatsoever. As long as we know Danielle Hunter is going to absolutely destroy the Bears. If the Vikings don't contain Fields on the other side, if they just flush him out, he could have a massive running game. What did he do? Let's see here. Justin Fields stats. Let's see what he did last year against the Vikings. I feel like he had a good game. Not that this means anything. New defensive coordinator. New... I was looking on the wrong thing. Knew all of that. But, I mean, this year wasn't great. 58 yards interception. He got hurt that game. Last year, he only played once against them. 208 yards passing and a touchdown. 47 yards on the ground. And then his rookie year, he only played one game as well. 285 and a touchdown, 30 on the ground, 35 on the ground. Interesting. This will be his second game in Minnesota, if that means anything, I suppose. Okay. Let's go back here. Let's look at the waiver wire because it is such a shitty week. Like I said, so many teams are in must-win mode, and there's 6 teams on bye. So you would assume if you can trade today, still, if you have a week 12 trade deadline, that means you can still trade today. If you have a week 13 trade deadline, good. That's what you should do. Week 12 's stupid. In hindsight, there's no reason to have a week 12. But the teams that are desperate and maybe they have a bunch of players off next week, they should be wanting to sell because they can't lose. So if you are in a position where you've already made the playoffs, you should be able to trade for a TJ Hawkinson for a value, Stephon Diggs, any of the players who are on bye this next week. And again, those teams are the Bills, Bears, Raiders, Vikings, Giants, Ravens. You should be able to trade on a value. Hopefully you're not in a league like I am where people accept trades, let it pend for 5 days, and then they decline it. That's super cool. That's in that 16 team with you, Luke. That was absolute bullshit. However, let's look at the waiver wire. I think it's a pretty shitty waiver wire week, everything considered. I think the only thing you're really finding are bye-week fill-ins, which I guess is the only thing we really need here. But there aren't a ton of long-term value, in my opinion. I'll start with just naming the top 10 trending players on Sleeper like I always do. Again, these are the players who have been picked up the most over the past 24 hours. The number one player I agree with, and this should be a long-term ad, not just a bye-week fill-in. He's rostered in just under half of Sleeper fantasy leagues. That's Pat Freiermuth. Over almost 180K ads. And, it was a while ago, while he was still healthy, before he even got hurt, I said Freiermuth was a drop. And he just wasn't being used whatsoever. He wasn't being used at all. He comes back off of his injury, still is not used. They fire Matt Canada, and all of a sudden, Freiermuth has 11 targets, 120 yards. So I am fine with the speculative ad. If you, again, have Hawkinson, you have somebody who's not playing this week, if you have a struggling tight end, I do not mind picking up Freiermuth just to see. This is a player who's done it before, and he just did it now. Career best performance. You can't expect him to match that, but maybe he broke the seal. Maybe there's a confidence thing there now. And maybe it's just the offensive philosophy of the new guy. So I think it's certainly worth picking him up. This could be a long-term thing. This week he plays the Cardinals, who Higbee just scored 2 touchdowns against. Then he has the Patriots, the Colts, the Bengals, who he just torched for 120 yards, and then the Seahawks. So schedule-wise, I'm not afraid whatsoever. And yeah, like he could certainly be a top 10 tight end the rest of the way. Could he go back to being absolutely nothing? Sure. But there's no better pickup this week, in my opinion, considering the position, considering everything else. There's a couple other players who aren't in the top 10 trending, who I like to pick up, and I'll get to them. But yeah, Freiermuth's the number one pickup. I fully agree with that. Definitely go get him. Bills, would you play Ingram over Kittle going forward due to the target volume Ingram has? I mean, what's his target volume? His target volume isn't that high anymore now that Zay Jones is back. And Zay Jones, despite the legal trouble, I mean, he's going to be playing the rest of the season. I don't love Ingram. What did he end up finish with? He got 8 targets, only 5 receptions. Some of those targets I don't think were really targets, in my opinion. I was watching that game. Would I play him over Kittle? I think it's, if you need a safe guy, like I think he's safer than George Kittle. George Kittle is kind of boom or bust at the tight end position. which we've been saying all year long. Like, that's not really a surprise. Would I play him over Kittle? I mean, if you have both of them and you have the option, I think you just play the matchup. So it's like, if you only need 6 to 8 points from your tight end and you're going to win, then you go Ingram. If you need a good performance, something higher, then you go Kittle. Do I think Ingram scores a touchdown the rest of the way? Probably not. Do I think Ingram has more than 5 catches in a game the rest of the way? Maybe not. Like, that's going to be tough. Like, certainly his role comes down with Zay Jones there. Then you got Christian Kirk. You got Calvin Ridley coming alive. If Travis Etienne, he got hurt, he came back. If he gets hurt again, that would kind of benefit Ingram. But at the current moment, you got Etienne ahead of him. And then Zay Jones is, he certainly has a role down in the red zone. So there's going to be weeks where Ingram is the 5th guy. And is that good enough? I don't know. Luke said, I don't love Ingram moving forward. Jags had their best season in many years without Ingram scoring touchdowns. Yeah, bingo. Yeah, I don't think he scores. But again, if you are cool with 4 for 40 from your tight end and that's all you need to really win, then you go Ingram for sure. Because Kittle might have a 2 for 20 game, and then he might have a 6 for 126 and 3 touchdown game. Luke's in a guillotine league, has a guy who's going to lose, has Justin Herbert. I have Stroud and Fields, don't have to put a bid in. No. Yeah, you don't need to. If you can still trade in the guillotine league, it's fine. I wouldn't mind putting in a small one just so someone doesn't get them for free. But overall, I would rather... You're certainly fine with Stroud and Fields. Who do the Texans play this week, though, since Fields is off? Texans play somebody not great. Oh, they play the Broncos, who are playing well. I think you're still fine. Again, I wouldn't mind putting in a small bid, but I wouldn't be paying up for them. Okay. Number 2 trending player is Greg Dortch for the Cardinals. Stupid. This is so dumb. But he got 8 targets last week, 9 targets this past week. Michael Wilson's out for the Cardinals, which means Rondale Moore is getting used on the outside. They put Greg Dortch in the slot. This is the exact same thing that happened last year. Everyone flocked to go pick up Greg Dortch. He was one of the hottest pickups one of the weeks last year. I will say the same thing that I'm saying now. I was right last year. I'll be right this year. Like, soon as Michael Wilson comes back, which is as soon as this week, Rondale Moore will switch back to the slot, and then Greg Dortch is nothing. Like, that's it. He's a product of the system at this current moment. He's a fine player, but his targets are because Kyler Murray likes to target the slot, and once he's not there, he's not there. And this past week, 9 targets, 3 catches, 27 yards, touchdown bails him out. But, not the greatest game ever. He's got the Steelers, then he's got a bye week, then he's got the 49ers. If Michael Wilson's out this week, certainly could be. Then Greg Dortch could be a fine bye week fill-in against the Steelers, but just don't think of him as a long-term ad because he's certainly not. If you want to risk picking him up, hoping that Michael Wilson's out again since they have a bye right after that, totally cool with that. But you don't need to be picking up Greg Dortch as your wide receiver 3 the rest of the way, because it's not going to happen. And the player who's not mentioned in this trending at all is Michael Wilson. I think Michael Wilson's a good pickup because he is a very talented player. He's going to be the number 2 opposite of Marquise Brown. And I think Kyler Murray and him could develop a pretty good chemistry. I think he could be a decent pickup for the rest of the way. Again, if you are a team in must-win mode, you're not picking him up. If you are a team in the fantasy playoffs and maybe your wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 is a little weak, then I don't mind going Michael Wilson. But again, may not play this week. Then he's got a bye. Then he's got the Niners, who the Niners aren't that scary, I suppose, for a wide receiver this year. But even still, if you are sitting pretty, check out Michael Wilson. If not, then probably not. Number 3 trending player, again, you'll have to explain it to me. Samaje Perine. I don't know. He vultured a touchdown. Congrats. What's that mean? Does that mean we need to go pick him up? That's so stupid. Almost 55,000 people went to pick up Samaje Perine because he vultured a touchdown. Okay. No comment. Nothing else to say there. Number 4, is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. And for good reason. Their defense hasn't been amazing this year. I mean, they've given up 27 points back-to-back weeks, but they play the Panthers next week. They just fired Frank Reich. They play the Falcons the week after that, the Packers after that, and then Jags and Saints. But yeah, next week, they will be a top 5 defense by many people, like ranked by many people. So makes sense that they're number 4. Number 5 is Justin Watson. He didn't have a great game whatsoever. 1 catch for 3 yards, I think, with the touchdown. Touchdown bailed him out a little bit. Chiefs put Mecole Hardman on IR. Kadarius Toney is dealing with an injury. Surprise, surprise. And I know Patrick Mahomes loves Justin Watson. He's the reason Watson's on the team, like reason why he was on the team last year. He provides a good speed element to this team, and he's trusted by Mahomes. Plays the Packers this week. I think Justin Watson is certainly a serviceable bye-week fill-in for you. Am I trusting him the rest of the way? Absolutely not, but I don't mind that at all. I just want to look ahead here. Okay, so yeah, Rashee Rice isn't one of the trending players. What's his ownership? Rashee Rice is owned in 72% of ESPN, or 72% of sleeper leagues. Let me see what he is on ESPN, because I bet it's like half. Okay, what are we doing, ESPN? Okay, so Rashee Rice is owned in 51% of ESPN leagues. So if you are in a league that's not on sleeper, there's a decent chance you could go pick up Rashee Rice. And if you're on sleeper, I think you need to go look at Rashee Rice. The Chiefs are still very desperate for a wide receiver to step up in this offense. Obviously, Rice did so against the Raiders. Good matchup, good game script, good all of that, over 100 yards. But, I mean, if you're telling me there's a player who is outside the top, let's just assume he's a wide receiver 40 or so. Oh, actually, it says it right here. It's wide receiver 35. If you told me there's a player, wide receiver 35 and lower, who has the best chance to finish as a top 15 guy the rest of the way, I think Rashee Rice could do so. Like, they need somebody to step up. He's earning his the confidence of Mahomes. He's developing his game. He's adding a little bit more every single week. Why not? Like, he's certainly a good pickup. He's somebody who could be a championship winner for you. Only available in 28% of sleeper leagues, apparently, but I think it is worth the look. Number 6, this is a smart pickup. I like this. Dearness Johnson. Owned in only 4% of sleeper leagues right now. ETN had an injury scare, came back into the game perfectly fine. Dearness Johnson's a guy I loved since his AAF days. Orlando Apollos, I believe. He's a really solid player. He's really good. And he is backing up Travis Etienne down in Jacksonville. He got a little bit of run this week, obviously, with Etienne hurt. And back-to-back weeks, he's had big catches, which was helped his value a lot. Last week, a 34-yard catch. This past week, a 42-yard catch. 7 carries back-to-back weeks. He's just a handcuff, right? Like, you're not picking him up to start him by any means, but Tank Bigsby's not the handcuff. We know that, at least not this year. He's not the handcuff. And I talked about last week how we need to start reorganizing our bench better. We need to start constructing our bench to win a championship. Again, if you're sitting pretty, you're making the playoffs. You don't need to be adding a wide receiver 5, a running back 5 that's, just as a depth piece. You're adding somebody where if there's an injury, then they're a good play. If you are a Travis Etienne owner who has locked up a playoff spot, you need to own Dearness Johnson, because if Etienne gets hurt and he misses a week, or if they locked up a playoff spot and they're just not going to play ETN or something, then Dearness Johnson's an RB2 with upside for sure. So I like this pickup. I think he's certainly a guy to pick up right now. Decent handcuff. I like it a lot. Let's cruise through these final trending players because I don't love them. We got number 7's Gerald Everett. You'll have to explain it to me. Caught a touchdown. Great. That's fine. He's a fine player, just in this offense. Not relevant, not consistent, not anything. For the love of God, don't go pick up Gerald Everett. Number 8, Isaiah Likely. We talked about him last week. I didn't really love him as a pickup. I thought he was okay, but I'm not going to break the bank on Isaiah Likely. And he did better than I thought he would. 4 catches, 40 yards, but I'm not expecting much more than that. This was as good of a matchup as there could have been. Now he has a bye week as well. Then he has Rams, Jags, Niners. He'll be okay the rest of the way. But, we went through his games with Lamar Jackson previously. He had 1 catch or fewer in almost all of them. There hasn't ever really been a situation where Mark Andrews was out long-term, though. So there's a chance they're actually trying to ingratiate him into the offense this time, where previously they didn't really do that. So, he could be a decent player the rest of the way. I don't think he's a top 12 tight end the rest of the way, though. So if you have if your waivers are done via Fab, just keep that in mind. If he's still out there in your league, he's rostered in 58% of sleeper leagues. So, he's picked up in probably around 50%, right? But he'll be picked up more this week after that performance. I don't think he is a must own. I don't think he is the number 1 pickup. Again, I'd rather go pick up Pat Freiermuth than Isaiah Likely, I think. But yeah, I think he's okay. I don't trust him to be great going forward. Number 9 is Jordan Love. He had a great game by all accounts against the Lions. Certainly the best game of his career. I don't think there's any doubts about that watching it. That coincided with the best game. I would call it the best game of Christian Watson's career, even though his route running has gotten progressively worse as the year has gone on. He's kind of just playing backyard playground bullshit football, which has worked for him. And if it's working for him, fine. That just means he's not going to have a long NFL career. But at the current moment, it's working. Jordan Love is playing fine. If you need a bye week fill-in against the Chiefs, he'll be okay. There's other quarterbacks I like more than him that are rostered less than him, but I think he's fine. You could certainly do worse. And then number 10 is a player who hasn't played this week yet. He plays tonight. Roschon Johnson, rookie running back for Chicago, a player we've talked about quite a bit. I like him a lot. I think he's a great player. Obviously, he hasn't been given the reins whatsoever in the Bears' backfield. So Deontay Foreman out tonight. Khalil Herbert's going to resume his top back role. Roschon Johnson will get about a third of the snaps. Maybe he'll get 8 to 10 touches, and we'll see what he does with them. If he does great. If he does bad, that's expected. And then he has a bye week. So people are probably picking him up to play him tonight, would be my guess. If in terms of picking him up long term, I don't really see it. I don't see it. I think it would behoove the Bears to run Khalil Herbert into the ground and then get rid of him because this regime has no ties to him. There's no reason to add more wear and tear on Roschon Johnson at the end of a rookie year that is absolutely meaningless. So even though I do think he's the most talented back in the Chicago backfield, I think you don't really need him. Maybe he's a low-end flex this week. Oh, no, he's not because he's got a bye week. Don't pick him up. Who cares? Stupid. I didn't write down that many players. We already talked about Pat Freiermuth. I wrote him down. Rashee Rice. I wrote him down. Michael Wilson. A quarterback, again, we have good quarterbacks on bye this week. Justin Fields, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Josh Dobbs, I suppose. A quarterback that's not really owned. We talked about him last week in our video, how to replace Joe Burrow in fantasy football the rest of the season. That's Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's playing good. The Broncos are playing good. He's owned in 51% of sleeper leagues, which is kind of crazy. He just put up almost 17 points against the Browns, which is very good considering the Browns. A lot of it was with his legs. I said last week, I like him long term. I'm not playing him against the Browns. So assuming you listened, now you have Russell Wilson against the Texans, the Chargers, the Lions, the Patriots, and then the Chargers again. I think this is a great schedule for Russell Wilson fantasy-wise rest of the season. I think this is a great schedule for the Broncos rest of the season. And don't look now, but it looks like the Broncos are probably going to be a playoff team. So I think that could be on the back of Russell Wilson. Coinciding with Russell Wilson, that also means I like Cortland Sutton rest of the season. I think he throws it to the running backs a decent amount. And we will see if Jerry Jeudy can step up. The matchups are certainly there. You know, attacking the cornerback two of the Texans, Chargers, Lions, and Patriots. Pretty good thing. Has been a pretty good thing all year long. So Jerry Jeudy could be a late season performer. We shall see. But yeah, Russell Wilson, by all accounts, I like him. And he's running a bit. Like again, 34 yards this past week. Week 10, he had 30 yards. Week 8, he had 30 yards. 21, 31, 49. He had a 56 back in week 2. So the fact that he's using his legs, which he didn't really do last year, the past few years, now that he's doing that again, he's extending plays. He's extending drives. I love it. I love it. Am I a Russell Wilson fan? Mixed feelings on that. But I do like to watch him play well, I will say. One of the other better bye week fill-ins, let me find his ownership percentage. He's owned in 39% of sleeper leagues. So if you have a wide receiver out this week for bye, for injury, for whatever, Curtis Samuel's healthy again. He performed damn well on Thanksgiving, 9 catches, 100 yards against the Cowboys. Obviously, he's going to be better in games where they are trailing. This week, he plays the Dolphins. He won't have to be attacking, the Jalen Ramsey on the outside. He'll be attacking the slot. I imagine Washington's chasing points. Give me Curtis Samuel. He is such a good bye week fill-in, especially in PPR. Go ahead and get him. And the last player I wrote down, does not matter who's throwing him the football. I love Demario Douglas. I love Pop Douglas. Back-to-back weeks of 9 targets, 6 catches, 49 against the Giants. That is a game with, obviously, both Mac Jones and Zappy. We will see who the Patriots roll with going forward. They don't really have a good option there. But he's got the Chargers this week, which you like. I'm not afraid of the Steelers, then the Chiefs, and the Broncos. I think Demario Douglas is decent. Certainly a good bye week fill-in against the Chargers, though. But he also could be a decent wide receiver 3 the rest of the way. That's all I got. If you guys got any trade questions, go ahead and do so. Otherwise, I think if you got a phone, feel free to scan that QR code and vote for us in the podcast section of Volume 1 Best of Awards. All you got to do, sign up with your email address. You just sign in, or you can sign in with Facebook. They're not going to spam you, none of that. Under the media and info section, I believe it's called, it's Best Local Podcast. You can vote for 3 podcasts. There's a bunch of Flurry Sports podcasts there. Vote for the Flurry Sports podcast. Vote for Lombardi Sweep. And then either vote for Fantasy Football by Committee, which is what you're listening to now, or vote for I Don't Think So, which is a podcast that I'm not on. So if you like that, certainly go ahead and do that. But definitely go vote for us. You can vote as many times as you have email addresses. Please, please, please vote. Again, if we win, we will go and we will look like jackasses, act like jackasses, film the whole thing, put it up on YouTube. It'll be great content if we win this stupid award. I would be very thankful. Last year in the podcast awards section, we didn't know we were nominated until a day or two left, which has been the theme for us, and a banking podcast won. I can't imagine anything more boring than a banking podcast. So don't let them win again. I think that's bullshit. Spoiler alert. I mean, we got a good podcast tomorrow for the Flurry Sports podcast. Tuesdays, those drop. We got one more week of voting. The week after, we're going to do some banking shit on the Flurry Sports podcast. I don't know what that means, but if people like banking podcasts, buckle up. I'll have a nice banking segment for you. But please scan the QR code or go to volume1.org/best-of and vote for us. I would be very thankful. The other thing you can do, this QR code here, or just go to underdogfantasy.com or download the Underdog Fantasy app. Sign up with promo code FLURRY, FLURRY. You get a $100 deposit match. So you double your deposit right away, and you can go play drafts. Best day of the year in fantasy football is draft day. Go join with other live people in drafts for NFL, MLB, well, not MLB right now, NBA, NHL. You got some PGA in there, all kinds of stuff. You can play drafts against other teams. Best score wins, get paid out real money. Or you can do the pick 'em, higher or lower on a variety of stats, fantasy points, stuff like that. String them together, get up to 20 times your profit. If you play those Scorchers, which are some boosted lines, you can get 100 times your entry fee. All kinds of good stuff over on Underdog Fantasy. Please go join. Use the promo code FLURRY. Helps you out, helps me out. We all win. That's all we're really trying to do anyways. So please go do that. I am going to hop off. Again, this may be the trade deadline for you. If it is, definitely drop any and all trade questions in the comment section or over on Fantasy Football by Committee on Facebook. And I will be checking those and answering you all week long because, again, this is kind of the week from hell. This is going to be a very tough fantasy week. I don't want you to lose. So let me help you. Ask any and all questions you have. And I'll see you again for sure Wednesday night for the ranking show with Luke and Trevor. And we'll answer all your questions then there as well.